I don't care who thinks we're silly. You ain't Daffy and I'll be Dilly. We'll order up 2 bowls of chili, setting the woods on fire.
Yeah. Something in the water taught me how to crawl. Something in the water taught me how to fall.
Hey, y'all, welcome into a special Something in the Water podcast. I'm Uncle Dave Griffin, and you'll see that this is not Sean Clark. No. And these are some people who are very special to me. Yeah. I'd like you to meet my family. Right here is my daddy, the patriarch of our Griffin clan, Joseph Robert Griffin, nickname Snook.
And it's not Clark either.
He also goes by Joseph Jerry.
Jerry
JR.
is another one, common.
Joseph Robert.
People know him as Joseph, Jerry.
He's got a lot of aliases.
Snook. This is my oldest brother, Gary Wayne Griffin. His nickname is Tick. We'll get into these nicknames in a minute. This is my beautiful little sister. Her name is Debbie Lynn Griffin. Debbie Lynn Griffin Hickox. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Sorry about that, Glenn. And her nickname is the Sukajuma Kid. And this is my family. Now, before we get started, y'all know that you're watching this on April 15th. Now, don't let this mess you up now, because I'm fixing to blow your mind. Through the magic of digital podcast production, it's actually February the 18th while we're sitting here. And so tell me what happened on yesterday, on February 17th.
On February 17th now, I don't know where you're going with it.
Not yesterday, but
Wedding anniversary.
what does February 17th mean?
It means that I got married to Savita Mae Carter.
You got that one, Justin? That I sent on the extra email? I forgot to add a couple. I sent you one just before I came over here, right there. If you'll throw that picture right there up so the people can see.
Y'all's 75th wedding anniversary yesterday.
There she is. That's probably about the way she looked when you met her.
That was made in Montgomery, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
About 2 years after they got married.
2 years after they got married.
I think I was in her womb at the time.
Yeah, not too long before Gary was born.
There wasn't a lot of room in the womb in the womb.
Yeah,
But,
and
she had the hairstyle of
the day.
Yeah.
That
That's
day
40s.
and time was the hairstyle for all the ladies.
You reckon they used to stick cans in there and wrap that curl?
Soup cans. Yeah.
Soup cans?
I think
It's
so.
Soup can curl.
Campbell's
Our
soup.
mama was a beautiful woman, not just to us, but to just about everybody she ever met.
Everybody, and she loved teaching, and all the students loved her.
Amen.
Yes, they did.
She was beautiful inside and out, and everybody says I look just like her.
No. Now, Deb, tell that story about you walking into Strickland Ken, and she says,
Oh, yeah.
what was that now?
Fit in.
Yeah, Aunt Lottie. It's actually related to Glenn.
Oh, yeah, your husband.
Right. He's related on the Lee side, where we're related on the Carter side.
So you
And-
married your kinfolk.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's why they advise y'all not having children.
Right. We waited until we were through
course,
with
you know about
childbearing
it.
age.
That makes it all right, I
Now
guess.
we are kin, not blood kin, with the Lees. Uncle Avery, Daddy's oldest brother, he married into the Lees. Uncle Calvin married a Lee, and no, Uncle Calvin married a
woman.
Griffin, Aunt Mamie,
Oh.
and
The Griffins are kin to everybody.
Yeah,
then,
pretty
And the
cool.
Carters.
Yeah.
Well, just being in this vicinity, this
Yeah.
southeast Georgia, with the Okefenokee Swamp, the vast Okefenokee, and all the original settlers there,
That was
you
only
have to
100
marry somebody. And
what,
it's going to
200
be
years ago.
somebody that by the time we're grown up in high school and looking at each other, well, we bound to be kind of crossways kin anyhow.
Sure.
'Cause
But
everybody-
finish telling your story
Okay.
about that. You went to Aunt Lottie's.
Yeah, she was actually.
Had she ever seen you before?
No,
Okay.
no. Yeah. And she was actually on her deathbed.
Oh my gosh.
And, but we walked in. She was in her bedroom, and all her daughters were sitting around. And me and Glenn walk in, and the first thing she says is, "You're Savita Mae's daughter, aren't you?" I
Good
said,
grief.
"Yes, ma'am." She said, "You look just like her." I said, "Well, thank you. That's a compliment."
Only Mama didn't have blonde hair.
Nope.
But yeah.
Y'all
So-
do favor.
So
Y'all do favor. You favor her. She
Yeah.
favored you.
with
you look
blue
more like-
eyes.
Yeah.
You look a lot like
Mhm.
Uncle Vance Carter, though.
Mhm. No.
Yeah, you do. Yes, you do.
Really?
I
To
did.
me. And Everett.
Yeah.
I see a lot of. Everett was our granddaddy on the Carter.
Right.
Yeah, on to
Her-
her
her
mother.
daddy.
Now, Everett spit
Tobacco.
Jaquita out.
Oh, yeah.
She's just
Yeah.
like him. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking at pictures of Aunt Quita and Granddaddy. Yeah.
Yeah, he's spit.
Well, we're
around.
going to get into some of them pictures and stuff as we go along here, but we just like to say happy anniversary. Daddy and Mama were married February 17th, would have been their 75th wedding anniversary. 75th? Yeah.
Yep.
And today is actually February 18th, and this would have been Mama's 95th birthday. So
yeah,
we wish her a happy, heavenly birthday and miss her every day.
Yep.
Yep.
She was the best. Okay, so let's see. Now, Daddy, we'll start with you. Give us your birthday with the date and the year.
And what you remember about that day.
well, I didn't remember too much about that day. I remember it was September the 14th, 1927.
September the 14th, 1927, which makes you now 95 years old.
And a half by
And a
now.
half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, about
Yeah.
95 and a half now. And Daddy was in the Air Force. Well, he married Mama in 48, and you joined the Air Force in 46, I guess, for
Yeah.
it to be a 20-year run.
Right. I was drafted.
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 Okay.
I
Okay.
didn't join. I was drafted in 1940, November 1945.
Uh-huh. So you had a choice. You got to pick your service,
Branch of service.
branch of service.
No, drafted. You did not have a choice.
You didn't have a choice. Okay.
It was what they was needing next. Okay.
So it was actually the Army. Called it the Army Air Corps.
It was
Part of the Army.
United States Army Air Corps. Right.
few years later, they changed it to the
In
Air Force.
1947, it became a command of its own, the United States Communications, Air and Airways Communications Services that we provided.
And Daddy was in the Air Force for 20 years.
Yeah. Then
He retired in 66.
I had a break in service in 47. If you wanted a discharge, they'd give you one. You didn't have to have any reason because it would be for the convenience of the government. And I stayed out 1 year and re-enlisted in 1948. And in 1947 is when the president signed orders, you might say, making it the United States Air Force, not Army Air Force.
Did you take that break thinking that you might could find something else to do?
18 years old, not married, you didn't know.
Just thought that you had a little bit of life to live.
You just
wanted to work at the shoe factory by the courthouse.
That's what you did that year.
Yeah.
That you was
met
off.
Savita, wasn't
That's where I met Savita.
You looked at her and said, "That's a cute little size 4.5 foot there." Is that right?
You probably said, "That's a cute little soul stitcher." She just stitched my soul.
Yeah. No, I had it never. It was you're a sweet little heartache, full of quaint little schemes.
Well, no wonder she loved you so
And
much.
she just
Heartache. So, and then you saw that. Then you got to courting Mama, and it got serious real quick. And you said, "Well, a married man's got to be able to support his woman, so I'm going back."
That's right.
Tell us about when you popped the question. I've never heard that. Do you remember?
How many dates did y'all have before you realized?
Well, right after I said, "Let's get married," and she said, "Keep going. What else?" And I said, "Well, that's it. I'm a PFC in the United States Army Air Corps. That's what I got to offer you." And we set a date. I had just gone back into the Air Force and they hit me with orders to go to Okinawa. When I said, "I'm married," they said, "You're going to Okinawa." And
I'm on my honeymoon. You're going to Okinawa.
Right. We went, Darcille and Jean lived on Gilmore Street, I think it was, in an apartment. And we were there at their apartment upstairs, and Mr. and Miss Carter came, and we were getting ready to get married. And we had to get our license and all that. And so I said, I don't. Mr. Carter said, "You can use my car to go get your license." And I said, "Well, I don't have a driver's license." He said, "You can use my driver's license too." And I felt like an itch, you know. He's wanting to get rid of somebody, isn't he? So I went around, we got our license, and we got married.
At the courthouse?
No, at
Second Baptist Church.
Second Baptist Church over there before it moved to where it is now.
Just off of Albany over there on
Brunswick Avenue, I think.
I know where it's
at. Now a Family Worship Center or something.
Yeah.
I actually played in a church band there years later. Mm-hmm.
But Darcille is Mama's sister.
Darcille's Mama's sister.
Darcille, she was married to Eugene Cheshire.
Mm-hmm.
And
So that was
And,
February 17th, 1948.
Yep.
And Everett Carter was, that's two.
And he said, "Are you going to send her allotment every month?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, you check into that when you get there." No, he didn't say that. I was just kidding. Mr. Carter was a good man.
but you did send money home, I think.
Yeah.
Of course, you made about $50 a month. That's what
No,
everybody-
you didn't make that much.
$20 a month.
PFC, you was lucky to get $15 a month.
But you got
That
three
was
meals
big
a
money,
day.
though,
and
in
a-
40s.
Well, yeah, you
late
got
40s.
3 meals a day, but out of
And a
that
bed.
$15, they would deduct your what you call toilet articles and all. You had to get haircuts and toothpaste and all. You had to pay for that. They expected you to have a haircut too.
But y'all got
No, you didn't.
married, and then you left,
We got married.
The
That's
next day.
right.
wasn't it?
You left on her birthday?
Yeah,
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You got married and left the next day
yeah.
to Okinawa.
Which
Wow.
is a little island in the
He
Pacific.
didn't want her to get away.
How long do you have to stay there?
Year and a half,
My
18 months.
goodness.
Okay, so that puts you,
You got
back.
to come home on leave, though, didn't you?
Nope.
Well,
That puts you back in
Wait a
late.
minute, how did I
50
get born?
In late 49,
49, yeah.
and
I mean, you need to run a DNA
then
Yeah.
then
Maury Povich show.
then you immediately got transferred to Montgomery.
Not immediately. I
That was your next
served
place?
18 months on Okinawa, which was tour of duty for there. And came home, and me and your mama started looking for a car to buy.
Mm-hmm.
We had saved our money while I was on Okinawa, and you could hardly find a used car, a good one after the war was over. And we bought a 1947 Plymouth. Good car.
Where was Mama staying while you was in Okinawa? With Seal
She stayed at home at your grandma and
at the
granddaddy
farm?
Carter's.
The farm was
Carter
between the Hoboken and the Waycross.
Just outside, just
Between
east,
Hoboken
just
and
west of
Slaughterville.
Hoboken.
Yeah.
Slaughter.
Okay,
Creek.
so you came back from Okinawa. Eventually, you got ordered to Montgomery.
I came back from Okinawa, and went to processing depot for assignment up in, and they assigned me to Andrews Air Force Base, Washington, D.C. And you couldn't get no apartment or anything up there. It was hard to find a place to live even back then in 1949.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put in a request for a transfer stating that couldn't find a place to live up there. And luckily I got transferred
To Alabama.
from Andrews Air Force Base, Maryland to Montgomery, Alabama. That wasn't our first assignment. That was one of the best assignments. Good assignment. It was good people.
Maxwell Air Force Base.
Yeah. Montgomery, Alabama.
And then, along about, y'all had a good Happy New Year, and then along about November of 50, Gary came along.
Well, we thought he had kidneys. We thought your mama had kidney stones.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
So, Gary, tell us what you remember about November 23rd, 1950.
It was real cold in Alabama that winter.
And then you heard.
A couple of times.
Yeah, I wasn't very aware, but I have heard in very recent times that it was the coldest, well, it wasn't winter yet, but it was late autumn. It was the coldest spell that they had in probably since they started recording temperatures. And It was real cold.
Real cold. There, you remember there was right in the center of Montgomery, Alabama, was a big water fountain, and it froze over. It never had before.
But we survived the cold. But what we almost didn't survive is my breech birth. Came out backwards. Been doing everything backwards ever since. Been backing up for 72 years.
You backed all the way up to 72.
Not to make light of it, they said I almost killed Mama and myself because it was a long, terribly hard labor.
Wow.
And
They didn't
we were
do
lucky to-
C-sections back then.
I guess not.
Yeah, medicine weren't
but-
what it is now.
The doctor took one look at my face and he slapped my mama because I was so ugly.
Well, he probably saw you come out backwards, and he probably saw that come out, and he said, "What an ugly kid." But it was your ass he was looking at.
Mm.
But, you know.
Yeah, that's pretty funny, Dave.
Well, before we get too far into this story, let's go from them numbered pictures right there so we don't lose sight of where we're at in this saga.
It's what you call genealogical continuity.
Yeah, it's called pictorial support. All right.
So I'm the oldest by 2 years and 9 months than my brother.
Yeah, he's
and by
Gary's-
9 years and 2 months than my
It's
sister.
always been 1, 2, 3, and being in the middle is just is aggravating.
There's something to be said for that. Middle child, I would bet.
Yeah,
Some kind of advantage.
I wrote a whole podcast on it. It was called the Middle Child Syndrome.
Well, I wore down.
I mean, not a podcast, a tale of the week.
I wore down the parents just for y'all because I liked y'all. I wore them down. Their resistance was such that y'all were being able to tolerate the corporal punishment better than I did.
They had to do a lot of tolerating with me. All right, this is Daddy's probably
18-year-old.
initial Air Force picture, I guess.
That was in 1946, going to radio school up at Illinois, about 60 miles from St. Louis, Missouri.
So you were 18
we-
going on 19.
We were over there on the weekend in St. Louis. Churches would put up bunks for service people to stay out on the weekend before they had to go back to duty. And that was in 1946 is when that picture was.
And, you'll see
in a
that
studio, right?
Daddy was a extremely good-looking man. I
Studio photographer.
grew up thinking that him and Mama were movie stars when I was young.
Well, they
when I
could
was
have been.
real
Look at
little.
that.
Yeah, they
I
could have
know
been.
Cary Grant,
Got the Cary Grant, a little bit of Rock Hudson.
but a studio guy took that. That
Mhm.
explains the lip rouge. The lip rouge.
And it
you got?
had
Rosy
some
cheeks.
Andy Griffith in it there too.
All right. What's the next picture? Yeah, the next picture is you on the left, and I can't. That's in St. Louis, I believe.
No, that's in San Francisco.
San Francisco.
We were waiting
Daddy's not. Is that Daddy?
on the
It is.
left. We were waiting for the ship that was going to take us to Japan for further assignment.
You know what? I never noticed the movie marquee back there. What does that say? Bad Man's Territory. Bad Man's. Ooh, what is that?
I can't
Bad-
remember that guy's name, but we were friends there for a
Something
while. till we got
R-tory.
separated.
That might be an I between the R and the T. Bad Man's also
Victory. I don't know.
10 something. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, that's
Creature
Daddy.
that ate 10,000.
That's an old picture scuffed up and
Tell me, Daddy,
creased.
is that a gang sign you flashing on with your left hand there?
It's the old
The knuckle.
Crips in the blood.
no, okay. It is. He's bending
He's bending his knuckle.
He's bending his left knuckle down. He's probably cracking it.
His pointer finger.
He's probably cracking it as he walks. He's striding with a purpose.
That's one of those sidewalk photographers. They'll take pictures and get where to mail it to, and you pay them, they mail it.
So you had to slip him a quarter or something?
I forgot.
You remember the other guy?
I can't remember his name.
Yeah.
We got separated, being assigned. He went one place and I went another. And I don't know.
He looks like he's got a handful of peanuts.
Probably had.
Okay. What's next, Justin? Okay. You blow this up. This is
Carter girl.
This is a bunch of bushes, and down at the bottom is
Our mama and our two
our
aunts.
mama and two aunts from right to left. Right is Mama, Savita Mae Carter.
She's got that same soup can bang thing going on.
Next to her in the middle is Aunt Jaquita.
Lula Jaquita.
Lula Jaquita
Carter
Carter,
Laughing House.
which we call Aunt Quita. And on the left is the oldest of the sisters. Mama was the middle. Quita came third. And on the left is Phyllis Darcille.
Pauline Darcy.
Pauline Darcille.
Cheshire.
And she married a Cheshire. We
That's in
call
their
her
front yard.
Aunt Seal.
Yep.
And
It's on the farm in the front yard.
mhm.
The house is immediately to the right of Mama as we're looking at it.
Quita's got her eyes closed. That's normal. No, I don't know. Mama looks like she's staring down the devil.
I know.
Who took the picture? Royce. That's why little Royce was about 4 feet tall and he's looking up.
Okay, after Jaquita, we had Uncle Royce Everett Carter, who we called Uncle Bud. And then the baby was Vance Liston.
Fancy doll.
And he was called Vancy Doll because
He
he
is
was the
called
baby.
He's the only one that's alive and he's 80
Yes.
or 81.
Vance is still living, and
I think he's 80. Isn't he?
he's pushing it. Got to be. He was born in late 30s,
41.
41.
1941.
So 21,
I think in
23
August.
would put him at 82.
When's
September.
Vance? Who?
Would put him
September.
82
September.
this year. Okay. All right. Now, okay, just pull that down now for a second. Pull that down. Yeah, take it off. We don't need to be looking at that.
That the old
You
oak
take
tree?
the pictures down for right now, unless you can come back to the camera. Now, so you were born in Montgomery in 1950, November 23rd, 1950. Then Daddy gets transferred to Goose Bay,
To Goose Bay, Labrador.
Labrador,
Where the sun never set.
where the sun never sets.
The land of the midnight sun.
The sun never shines. So one or the other.
Well, part of the year the sun never goes down
Yeah, it's like 6 months
That-
one way and
And part of
6 months
of darkness.
day and 6 months dark.
See, the earth tilts on its axis
it was
and it rotates counterclockwise.
The things you learn on this podcast.
Send me a friend request. tickgriffin.com.
Dr. Tick Griffin. Okay, so you went to north of the Arctic Circle.
well from Goose Bay, Labrador was our squadron, 1920th AACS squadron, and we had a detachment located about 60 miles above the Arctic Circle on Padlopen Island. And the tour duty from for that place was 6 months. And then you went back to Goose Bay for 6 months before you come home. But either way, I served 6 months up there, and that made my year was tour duty for Goose Bay. And so isolated tour that was, and they sent me back to the States to another isolated tour, one right behind the other, up to Fargo, North Dakota. And
you about seen enough of
and
snow.
it wasn't an air base, it was a radar monitoring station pointing to the North Pole. That is the nearest place from Europe to America, coming over the North Pole. And that's why they were up there monitoring. Big radar station there.
Because by then, nuclear was a real thing. Bombs, missiles. Missiles were real by then,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah.
Yeah.
Atomic bombs.
Yeah,
Well,
they
they dropped the atomic bomb in World War II, but missiles were developed quickly after
warheads,
that.
yeah.
Warheads. No.
Yeah, nuclear warheads, yeah.
So that was actually the beginning of the Cold War. Was it cold?
Very cool.
Me and Mama obviously didn't go with you there.
No.
No.
Well, as
Where?
a matter of fact, you didn't go either.
When did she buy our house? Was that during your stay up there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Padlopen Island.
But yeah,
So you've heard me talk about Dog Hill on this for many a time, and we've also gone to the meaning of that and everything. But Mount Pleasant Road.
that was I believe 1942.
52.
52,
Yeah.
1952, yes.
That Mama bought it
Yeah.
while you were stationed
Padlopen.
on Padlopen Island.
I was
Well,
about
the
a year and a half.
thing about it was a house came available right next door to her sister, Darcille, Aunt Seal, and her husband, Gene Cheshire.
And we jumped on it
Yeah.
before anybody else.
You and
could.
Mama, you said, I want it.
Actually, I was a little disappointed with the square footage. I held out for us to look around a little bit longer.
Didn't have
I was
enough-
a year and a half.
Didn't have
years
enough
old.
crawl space for him. Yeah.
That's a good one, Dave.
But okay, so then you came. You finally got them to see your plight in Fargo, and after pushing on them for a while, and
Yeah.
finally they
Took a
said,
Took a letter writing campaign from
"Yeah." And
the
then,
Dog Hill
then
neighbors.
your orders got lost
Well,
for a while.
no, my orders got lost up in Scottsville, Illinois in 1946.
Oh, that was then. Okay. So you told them in Fargo, though, give me a break. I just got married. You've been sending me there, here, yonder. I got a son. I got a family.
Got a wife, and she's got a son.
I got to get closer to home.
Well, where they lost my orders was up at Scottsville in the radio school.
Mm-hmm.
It's where my orders got. After radio school, they started assigning us, and I was hoping to get a flight crew, but I didn't, and I was better off. I learned later. And we graduated in June 1946. We had an emergency class because of so many being discharged. And so we went through an 18-week school that was set up for a 32-week school. So they shoved us through that in June. And about 4 weeks, about a month after that, everybody I graduated with was gone, and I was still there. Nothing from base operations over at headquarters administration. I waited from June till August. I'm still there, but everybody I graduated with's gone. And went up to the order room. We ain't got anything. And I went over to base headquarters and looked there, and they had baskets on the desk. And I told them who it was and everything. I said, "Do you have any orders on me?" I said, "My classmates has been gone a long time." And said, "Well, who are you?" I told them. They started look baskets in, out, and mine got put over here at the bottom, I guess. But they looked, and right at the bottom, he said, "Joseph R. Griffin." He said, "You're shipping out in about 5 days." He said, "Nobody's told you anything about us." "Nobody's told me a thing." He said, "Well, we sent your orderly room a call telling them, get you ready to ship out." And that's the way I got before I married your mama.
Right.
And
Well, thank God he found the orders, or we wouldn't be here.
My track in the Air Force 20 years later, I guess, when I went in the Air Force, is similar. I lost my travel orders got stolen from my VW hippie van. When it broke down in Lowndes County, I left it on the side of the road, and some rednecks broke in and stole my travel orders. Of course, I knew where I was going. It was England. But I didn't get paid for, I think, 4 months because of that. And not only that, when I was in electronics school at Biloxi, Mississippi, all of my friends cycled through and graduated and left because of some snafu. Dang government. Stupid military. Anyway, because of something similar to you, I was stuck there for, I think, 3 or 4 months, but it all worked out. I mean,
It's that Griffin curse. It's just, it's stuff like that's happened. I don't know if Deb's got any stories, but, name gets, it's kind of like Barney Fife. Your name gets misspelled or left out of a newspaper article when you finally get invalidated with something, they misspell it or leave it out entirely. It's the old curse.
Yeah, well, Deb wasn't in the military.
No, neither was I.
Greenpeace.
We were both in the military.
Yeah.
Well, we were in for...
We did some traveling. Well, we already chewed up, what is that thing, 45 minutes, y'all. And we ain't
and
even...
Deb ain't even born yet.
Neither of us is born yet. So rather than this thing turn into a long-winded family slideshow, we're going to get moving.
Yep.
So Daddy eventually wound up at Fort McPherson Army Base in Atlanta. And we had... Y'all had
Dobbins. It was Dobbins Air Force.
Air Force Base. That's Dobbins Air Force Base was an Air Force base. And that's where you worked?
Dobbins was located at Marietta.
Okay. Okay.
And,
so I was born at Fort McPherson. They must not have had...
They didn't have the facilities.
Okay.
Dobbins was really set up as a reserve base.
Okay. And so...
By then, they did have C-section technology, but Dave didn't need it.
there wasn't nothing wrong with my birth. I came out normal.
And the world's not been the same since.
And the world ain't been normal.
Ever since that happened, I started singing, "Stop the world and let me off."
Well, see, now was it at Dobbins that Farron Young was stationed?
That he was stationed over there at Fort McPherson. I said,
at Fort McPherson. And while I was in the hospital, you were visiting?
I
you didn't care nothing about visiting.
No, I seen him going in the building over there next to the hospital one day. Hey,
And you sold him, what was it, Hello Walls? You wrote the lyrics.
no, he was. It looked like they was doing construction on some walls over there. He was messing around at. So I don't know.
Yeah, it was
what.
Willie Nelson. that
I think he
wrote
got
that one.
discharged from there. He really didn't stay in the military long. It was
Y'all didn't even get to meet. It was just
No.
a hello, Fern.
So Dave was born September 1, 1953.
53. Now pull up the next one. Okay, this is,
Dave.
according to Mama's handwriting at the bottom, it's Davy, Daddy, Gary, and Mother. And that's, you recognize that car?
it's
That's a
Is that a Plymouth?
47 Plymouth.
it's
The one we bought in Montgomery. One you bought in
no.
Montgomery.
Let's see. No, when we bought a car, we didn't have any children. We got children there, but before the first car we owned was a 47 Plymouth.
That's
Now-
not it. That's not it.
It
That-
looks as if
that-
I'm like a little terrier
That's a
or
that's a
a
1950,
dog.
1950
See, I'm
Chevrolet.
looking at Daddy with the black nose and the ears and the.
You holding the dog?
I'm in there some summers.
That's me in the middle.
Yeah,
Yep.
Gary. And
That
in
does
this
look
one,
like a terrier.
in this one, Gary's looking at the devil. All right, go to the next. Oh, go back to that. The two that I sent you initially. This is one that'll elicit some. Oh, sorry, man. I don't need it to be so confusing. That first one.
Aw,
Yeah.
that was a good brother, wasn't it?
Baby.
They said, hold his head up, hold his head up.
And I'm going.
Don't let his head flop back.
No
Gary's
support.
saying, take him back.
Gary's saying this is uncomfortable.
Awkward.
See that right hand is down on the couch, like
I remember that couch. Kind of it was vinyl, obviously.
that was
Yeah.
still in Marietta, I'm sure, probably.
It went to Tripoli, Libya with us and came back with us.
Okay, now you can bounce back to the
Just a side note: when we lived in Marietta, didn't Brenda
next
Lee?
one after that.
Brenda Lee babysat me. That y'all always told me. Little Miss Dynamite, Brenda Lee.
And this is probably 54 by the time this picture.
Easter.
Maybe 50. Yeah, 54 of Easter of
Yeah,
54.
Gary's got his Easter basket.
Oh, yeah. There's Daddy and the boys. Okay. And this is probably the same day.
Yep.
Church in, is that South Georgia or Marietta?
About Marietta.
Yeah. And there's the family.
Parking
Young-
lot was empty. We didn't have a
young
good
family.
attendance.
See how skinny Daddy is? That's the way we all were, too, including Connor.
Yep.
And about 40 years old, it takes a twist, except never did with Daddy. Okay.
Dave looks like Connor in that one, doesn't he?
Yeah. There's a picture of Connor that looks
Now, we always had this, well, growing up in 54, 55, there was cowboys all over the TV and movies and everything. So and Daddy grew up with, of course, in the 30s, you know, he saw some of the first movies ever made, and they were rife with singing cowboys.
At the
Gene
Ritz
Autry,
Theater.
Hopalong Cassidy, Tom Mix, all those movie star cowboys. So he passed that right down to us, and we ate it up. So there's a close-up of Uncle Dave on Dog Hill before our house was added on to.
Probably 3 years old, 4.
Probably about 3. So that
Yeah,
would have
that-
been about 54. Okay.
That Colt revolver's as big as you.
Had a horse on the handle. I remember that. There we are out at the Carter farm, west of Hoboken. That's where Mama and Daddy lived, and they grew up. And there's me and Gary.
Daddy didn't live there.
Mama's mama and dad. Mama grew up there. There we are.
That was Christmas Day, I think.
Was it?
Whose trombone? Is that a
A toy for Christmas.
That was mine. It weighed about less than a pound. You know, it was made out lightweight.
Oh, okay.
Lightweight tubing.
Cheap. Yep. And I do remember I was mad because my arm wasn't long enough. I couldn't grip it down on the slide. They said, well, just grab it up here. You know, it works.
Picture tells a lot of things.
And I said, but it's not right.
Just because he had the trombone, I grew up to be the musician.
Well,
What the?
I can play the trombone now. You got to admit.
I
But-
guess y'all got the hat.
This is the first of many cowboy Christmases, too. So we always got
That was a-
cowboy something.
That was a red sweater, Dave. I remember.
I vaguely remember that.
I think it was
Didn't it have cowboys on it? Or
some kind of
Horses?
Western
motif?
Yeah, cowboys. Looks like.
Yeah, see there?
chaps.
Can't escape it. Yeah, okay.
It's crooked. It's a button up.
Well, they just said,
I was hard on everything
yeah.
I wore. Now, this would have been,
That was at a reunion or something, I think.
like a class reunion.
at Hoboken, yeah.
This is stuff that pictures I saw like this, I thought, movie stars.
Shifty.
Daddy's shifty in this one. He's checking out the food. Okay. Okay, this is about 54, 55. Daddy, did you build that horse?
I don't remember, Dave.
Somebody built that sawhorse for us, and that's old Charlie. That's
That's Dave in the driver's seat.
me
long
holding
ago.
the rein, and cousin Wanda Cheshire from next door.
There's that little tree.
Yeah, that grew into a weeping willow.
What kind of tree is that?
Was it a weeping? It was something. It ended up climbing it and dropping a gun on Tim's head. Okay. This is the Carter kinfolk. Okay. From left, that's
Uncle Arthur.
That's Pleasant Lovejoy Strickland. That was
Strickland. That's
that was
grandma's
grandma's daddy.
daddy.
Dempsey.
Big pawpaw.
Dempsey.
Really?
Wow.
He was still alive?
Yeah,
And well,
That
look
was
how
his-
old grandma is.
that was his birthday. That was out there at
He looks,
the homestead.
Yeah,
I mean, he looks
like Uncle Arthur.
bucking. He looks, I got Carter kin on the bottom of it. I got another picture for Strickland kin. But anyhow, that's
What?
Daddy next to him, Mama in the striped dress, Gary and me
Dave saluting.
saluting the sun. Next to Mama is Jean Cheshire. Next to him is Sister Seal Cheshire.
That's
In-
Jean's wife, Darcy.
Jean's wife, Darcille. In front of her is our little cousin Wanda, their daughter, and her brother Stan behind her. Behind him is our grandma, Leela Virginia Strickland Carter.
Yep.
Next to her is our granddaddy, Everett Cecil Carter. Behind grandma is our Uncle Bud, Royce Carter, Mama's brother.
The famous Royce Carter.
The famous Royce Carter. His stories abound. And cut off behind Granddaddy's hat is the baby, Vance Carter.
He's peeping through there.
And then on the right is our Aunt Quita with her husband, L.T. Laughinghouse. L.T. was a bodybuilder, and his full name was Landreth Trevathan Laughinghouse. I would have shortened it too.
LT.
That was a mouthful to have to repeat. Okay. Now, after I was born, eventually Daddy put in and got transferred to Jacksonville,
Right.
where he was doing some
Getting volunteers to call the Ground Observer Corps to spot airplanes for the military.
if they saw something
And
crazy.
they
could use those
They
now.
didn't get no pay or anything for it. It was all volunteer. And
Do your patriotic duty. Do you feel patriotic? Join us.
And you drove,
Spot the enemy.
drove that government station wagon.
That's
back
it.
in-
Yeah, I
Right
remember that
behind
thing.
me.
It was blue, wasn't it?
I threw a rock. I
yeah,
said,
it
let
was.
me
It was blue.
let me throw a rock
And I remember them-
over
Pink
the station
flamingo.
wagon. Daddy said no. I said, well, I'm doing it anyway. He said, you better not. I said, well, I'm doing it. He said, go ahead, but if you break the window, you're going to get a whipping of your life. Well, guess what happened? I put a little crack in that back window, the back seat when it slides, you know.
That's
Back
right.
into-
Yeah, they slid.
Yeah.
I seem to remember some kind of
You
bucket,
don't remember that, do you?
No, I don't.
I know.
pop-up seat or some kind of a thing in there.
Yeah, if you could fold that back seat down, it'd be flat all the way to the tailgate.
It seemed like there was a seat popped up in the very back for somebody to sit and look out the back or something. I don't remember.
It could
I
have
think-
been.
Yeah,
That
I
was
think
our
so.
front yard on Mount Pleasant Road with the pink flamingos that everybody had in the 50s.
And they
Now-
were ceramic.
Yeah. And I'm still sporting a gun and holster, so it was very real to me. And that house
You had it
across
on
the
your
street.
thigh if you saw a certain cowboy in a certain movie had an unusual style.
Yeah, it was front loaded, and that house across the street was M.L. Hickson, and that may be the house that Randy Erdmeyer lived in. His memory is a heck of a lot
Terrible.
worse than Daddy's. I'll tell you, he
Randy-
can't remember where he lived or anything about Mount Pleasant Road.
I've got a copy of the letter that his daddy wrote when it.
Maybe it'll have a return address on it.
Oh,
All right. This was about 55. That's, well, Gary, your memory. That's Stan and Gary dressed to the gild.
I got that tent for my birthday, so that might be my 6th birthday, maybe 1956.
No date on the picture, but
Davy Crockett was all the rage. It was like the Beatles and Elvis are rolled into one. Everybody watched. There was a show called Disneyland. Came on Wednesday nights, 7:30, and they did an arc. For a few months, it was Davy Crockett starring Fess Parker,
and Buddy Ebsen.
and Buddy Ebsen was his sidekick, Georgie. And there's Davy Crockett with his coonskin cap on the side of the tent, sponsored by Billups.
Fill up with Billups. David Crockett
Billups
at
Oil
the
Company.
Alamo. And you can see the state of Texas there. I don't know what that is off to the right there. Do you? Is that something we drew on there? Or? Good Lord. Oh, yeah.
There's the Alamo. I recognize that. I don't know what that is on the right. It looks like an oyster shell.
It looks like it could be a rope or something. I remember that tent, though. That was exciting.
Yeah.
Okay. And next up is this is something that we did for kicks. This was our
You promised me you wasn't going to put that
the
up.
front of the house was the living room. It had a tile floor and and our house was cinder block, so it was cold in the winter. So right back behind Gary's on the left, and right behind his shoulder there, you can see a brick mantle fireplace. We had gas heater stuck in there, and used
thing.
it judiciously. And that's the TV over my shoulder stuck in that corner. That's where we watched Mickey Mouse Club and the Texas Rangers, and right on the wall there to the left of Gary is that picture of Jesus
Yeah.
that we always had. And
So who were y'all?
I think it's just something Mama.
No, it was a skit. I was in first or second grade at Woodard Godwin Elementary School. Now, I wore the man's white beard and glasses. Dean Oxford wore the
woman's dress.
Yeah, the woman's thing. Well, and it was for Halloween carnival skit at school one night, and I was Peter Pumpkin Eater, and that was my wife that I couldn't keep her.
Keeper.
And Dean Oxford wore that. He was our neighbor, and in the middle of the rhyme, he would pop out of the pumpkin shell and scare everybody. And then I heard the adults saying, "What is this world coming to?" A boy wearing a dress. No, but that was what that was, and for some reason
So we
they
had
taught
the
me
costumes at home, and I put in that I was not going to be a woman.
Yeah, somehow they talked me into it.
And you look
At the
perturbed.
thread of a belt.
You
His
look
belt.
like
And then took your picture.
Yeah, I was moving, obviously, seeing the blur.
Mhm.
Dave was too. I was hoping nobody recognized me.
Yeah. That picture to the right looks kind of like me now. Okay. Okay, so by now Daddy's got orders to Tripoli, Libya. And that's a long ways from South Georgia. Way over there in the northern top of Africa, flanked by the Sahara Desert to the east, Morocco to the west, and the Mediterranean to the north. And this was Christmas 1958. And once again, we got Wide Earp outfits this time. And buddy, that was slick. Black hats. I think it had a star on the front
Yeah.
or something.
So,
And then these gold vests with black stars on them, bolo ties, white shirts, and I reckon
famous TV show, Hugh O'Brien played The Adventures of Wyatt Earp. You can still see it now on reruns. Middle 50s. And that's what he wore on the show. It was a black and white show, but the vests were gold. And
what color was the rug? Quick.
brown? I don't know. I don't remember that rug.
I don't remember.
By now we had that
I do.
green
I remember
couch.
that
That's
rug.
the green couch, isn't it?
Yeah.
By now we.
Green
we-
couch that made its way back home with us.
Yeah.
You remember the color of that throw rug, Daddy, in Tripoli? All right. And on weekends, we would take pleasure trips to just a few miles up the coast was Roman ruins. This was Leptis Magna, I believe.
Yeah. Ancient Roman city of Leptis Magna on the Mediterranean Sea
Mm-hmm.
in what is now Libya. And they had excavated and kind of started putting the city back together, from the ruins. They
Wow.
would they would find pieces of old statues and piece them together. And it was real fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And
But-
part of it was under the sea out there. You could see part of the city.
Yeah, they had to
Mhm.
recover. By now they've recovered that
The ocean
part.
was covering it. Uh-huh.
But being 7 and 3 at the time,
No,
We
it'd been
did.
about,
we took great interest in,
I'd been closer to 4 or 5 by this time.
well, then I'll be 8.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we were just at the age where we were intrigued by archaeological digs, and what blew our minds was they had a big communal toilet.
Yeah.
You know, it was huge, and across the outside walls were marble benches, and
The inside
sat,
seats were too.
and you sat down where holes were strategically
I
cut
thought it
into the
reminded
marble.
me a lot of Grandma and Granddaddy's outhouse.
Except underneath, they had flowing water.
Yeah,
you know.
aqueducts and waste
So
sewers.
still smell kind of bad, but
That's a lot of.
that's what made us laugh, and that was the big kick we
It's
got
like
out of that day, out of
geological
that field trip.
poo-poo.
Plus, the statues, most of them didn't have heads, and we would stand up behind them and put
Yeah,
a
they
head.
put me on one statue that didn't have a head, but it sure had genitals, and I was up there just hanging on for dear life. And in the picture, it has me holding on to the nearest thing, which was, yeah, you guessed it, Apollo's penis. Okay, I didn't put that one up here. Now,
Speaking of risque.
one trip, this was
between Sabrata and Tripoli.
Gary Ann.
Ann.
And if you'll notice, if you can take your daggum minds off of the picture, you'll notice that's the coastline of Africa, the northern coastline of Africa.
Libya.
We lived right there above her. Never mind.
That was a prison, and the story was the prisoners had drawn that on the wall. I guess standing on each other's shoulders. I don't know.
Well, you could tell what they were missing.
Raquel.
Yeah. Speaking of which, we'd like to say rest in peace, dear Raquel Welch just passed away. Okay. This is probably Christmas of '59, in which my cowboy suit got ripped off of me by Arabs, and I'm just back at the house that evening,
In the civilian clothes.
back
This
in my
non-Western.
regular clothes, clutching that drum for fear of robbers getting it too.
This is a clay Arab drum, and he's sitting on a camel saddle.
That's very Tripoli, that picture is. There's our American Christmas tree, our American TV. What kind of shows did they show on there?
It was shows like Rawhide, Alfred Hitchcock.
Who broadcast them? The base?
Transmitter from the base.
The base? Okay. We did not live on the base. No, we were off base housing.
Downtown
in
Tripoli.
Downtown, right about
with
a
the
mile
Arabs.
from the King's Palace. And
Less
about a
than
mile and a
I
half
think.
from the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
It was wow.
Some of Joseph Fadloon apartments.
Joseph Fadloon's apartment compound.
He was an Arab Jew, and he
Yeah.
was rich. He was making the money off of
In that apartment compound, it was multi-ethnic, so there were Italians,
They had
Spanish, Arab.
Palestinians, and they're running the government for Libya, or helping them set up, rebuild it, and organize it, and all.
And that camel saddle is kind of like a tourist
Yeah, it's not a real camel saddle.
thing.
It's a living room footstool. but
Yeah.
They tried to make it look like a camel
Stuffed
saddle.
with camel hair.
We had two of them.
And there was a hassock, too,
We
Right?
sent one
Did we have a
to my
hassock?
Daddy.
that came from
Yeah.
over there. It was round, red. Seemed like it was red. All right. Now,
Our baby sister was born.
now we get to January 7th, 1960. And all of a sudden, Mama's going to have a what?
A baby. The
And-
gender reveal party was not held.
Lo and behold, she did. And Daddy looks like,
This is gonna be the last one.
It's
hurry up.
It's a girl. What do we do?
That was on the balcony, of which we had like 2 or 3.
Yeah. All the way down on the
second-
living room, kitchen.
Well, that's the opposite. Across the way, there's a balcony on the apartment side. And
That was another building.
you could walk out of the living room and down the balcony and walk back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And then there was one off y'all's bedroom on the back and one off the very end of the hallway at the side of the apartment, which looked out over
Over the
Railroad
wall.
track.
the railroad tracks. A little diesel train puffed, and the Arabs. We got home movies of Daddy taking movies of the locals there at, I think it was 5 o'clock, twice a day. They would turn towards Mecca and do a prayer ritual.
Yeah. They'd spread their little
Blanket.
rug out and get down on their
Chant,
knees. Yeah.
and then get down on their knees and bow forward.
They'd bend at the waist and smell the rug and think,
Do the whole
This
thing.
rug
You know, it lasts
still
a good
stinks.
10, 15 minutes probably. And one time they came by, it looked like they were dressed up in palm tree
Yeah.
stalks.
we Americans say, well,
Fronds.
that's the Libyans'
Oh, my
Halloween.
God. That's
their
the
Halloween.
Arab devil.
But it
Yeah.
was some kind of Islamic ritual thing, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Special day.
And
Yeah.
Daddy and
Richard Wilson.
Richard Wilson got out there and threw cigarettes to him, right?
Yeah.
Packs of cigarettes.
To let them film them with a movie camera.
Okay. It was a deal. It was
And,
a deal went down.
And the Arabs stood still. They didn't know a movie camera, I guess. They thought it was still photography. And Sergeant Wilson and Daddy was like, dance, move around. And they started doing the Watusi. Them teenage Arab boys was like, I thought they're crazy Americano. But no, finally they got the idea and they started, jumping
Undulating.
around. We got it on our home movie.
Yeah. Another time we was on one of those weekend trips and we stopped at one place where the lady did not want to be filmed. Remember that Arab lady? She was turning around looking back at Daddy and no teeth, just giving him hell. You go to silent movies, so you couldn't hear her, but you could tell by the look on her face she didn't want to be on that picture because they thought that it stole their soul or something, didn't it? Wasn't it something?
We assumed that.
We assumed that, yeah. All right. Deb was born, and okay, so we're back in the States after a year and a half in Tripoli, immediately stationed to Albany, Georgia.
Tripoli was 2.5 years.
2.5. Oh my goodness, I've got it. My past is all wrong. So
Deb was only
that
2 or
was
3 months old when we
months old
moved
when we came
back.
Wheelus Air Force Base in Tripoli. Then we stationed on Turner Airfield in Albany. And this would have been 1960, I think. And,
Sure.
Yep.
Deb was
And
about
That was
11
my
months old.
first.
mhm.
Almost.
And they had a Sears department store right over the Flint River. And there we would be every Christmas.
Wearing our car coats.
That was our wonderful warm car coats. Okay.
And Deb really took a shine to Santa
Deb,
Claus.
Deb's saying, I don't know about this. She mama's right hand going in there to calm her before she
With-
lets go.
Peppermint.
And right a nanosecond after the shutter snapped, she started shrieking and crying.
It'll be
and
about like
screaming.
this next one then, the next year. Okay, no. In between Christmases, we had a family portrait made.
In our trailer. We lived in a trailer
Yeah,
park.
that was in the trailer.
And the traveling guy would come around and
Yeah.
hang a bed sheet behind you.
Mm-hmm.
And
Not bad.
yeah, pretty good deal if you can get it.
Okay.
Wonder what he charged us.
Now this is the one where she's letting go.
This was a year later when she was almost 2 years old.
I remember this. I remember this. Candy cane does not help.
Take the candy. Take the candy.
Okay.
I have no part of this bargain.
I didn't do the last one, though, where you were calm and collected. This is at the trailer park we lived in Albany, B&S Trailer Park, Lot 48. And there's our dog Sport, who was a long member of the family.
He was the wonder dog. He was
something.
He was excellent
Mm-hmm.
member of the family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He
was the
Had a
bravest
brown
member.
spot right in the middle of his back and one right on his tail.
He was brave
Bone.
and bold.
He wasn't
He
He
wasn't,
wasn't
scared of Great
Mm-mm.
Danes. Certainly wasn't scared of cats of any
No, he loved to get
Or
on the cat's
chickens.
trail. He loved that.
kind. Baby little
bitties.
bitties.
He killed Aunt Seal's chickens.
Well, he killed Grandma's biddies one year.
Yeah, and he killed the chickens next door, or rabbits. What was it? Something Aunt Seal and them had in the pen back there he got into. He might not have killed, but
He was a mean little Dickens.
he was
You might
just a
say.
dog.
Yeah, I'm kidding. But he was not scared. He took on a Great Dane
Yeah, right
50
there.
feet away from where that picture was, out in the dirt
Didn't
road.
he snap and barely miss his head and
Great.
bite his collar off?
Yeah, he bit Sport's collar off.
He snapped at him and his teeth missed his neck and just clipped that collar right in two.
Just clipped it right in two.
So
From my vantage point, which was right about there,
Mhm.
it looked to me like Sport's whole head went in the Great Dane's mouth. And then somehow, miraculously, Sport came out of his mouth and never stopped barking and snarling. And we said, "Where's your collar, boy?" And we went out, and his collar was bitten in two by the Great Dane's
All right,
number 24 incisor. tooth.
there it
There
is.
it is.
Now she's got it down. Now she's saying, "Who, me? Scared? Nah." Okay. And this is after Albany. We spent 60 to 64 in Albany. Daddy got transferred orders to Vietnam, where he spent a year from 64 to 65.
Yeah.
In Saigon.
Yeah.
Did you see any action over there
Mm.
in Saigon? Did
What
you
kind of action?
see any action?
I stayed away of everything I could like that. I got one of had to take some crypto equipment from Saigon up to Da Nang, and
You were on the road.
we weren't supposed to be flying in a plane with less than two engines with all the classified stuff we knew and had. Because if they got hold of us, that
It'd been bad.
Torture
they,
you.
they would have tortured us, yeah.
Mhm.
And
That would have been bad.
But everything went well that day.
yeah. And
Daddy was
spent
up.
the night up there and come back next day, and flew in a military plane from Bangkok back to Saigon.
Daddy wore plain clothes, civilian clothes.
I
It
could
was a
travel in plain clothes. Yeah.
Special Operations Group top secret mission. He still can't
Talk about
talk
it.
about it.
And
So we'll never know.
He was over there for 1 year, and we
We
moved
lived on
back
Dog
to
Hill.
Waycross for a whole school year.
My
and
ninth grade, Dave's
My 6th grade, and
Deb's.
kindergarten,
Pre-
or you just
You would have been
I
in
wasn't.
pre-K
Wasn't
if
in
they had
school
yet.
pre-K back
Yeah.
then, or something.
So Daddy comes back from Vietnam, and we immediately get transferred to MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
And down there, this is where this picture is taken. Deb's kindergarten.
Yeah.
And she even got into the whole
I was a cowgirl.
Western ethos. I always thought that was a cool picture, though. That it looks like a moon and stars
Big
behind
moon.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Gaze at the moon till I lose my senses.
Okay. Don't fence me in. Now, this was a picture that we grew up in our house, in our bedrooms in Waycross.
Yep.
I thought that was, or one version of that.
A
was-
version of it, yeah. It
was
might not be
hanging
the
on
actual one.
Leela and Everett's wall above their fireplace. Didn't they have one?
I wouldn't doubt it. That's probably
Probably where ours come from.
where ours came from, or either Mama was so
Right.
Yep.
that she bought a copy of
Yeah.
it too to hang in
Well,
our house.
that picture had a strong effect on all of us, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Did me.
Mm-hmm.
The angel of the Lord taking care of the
Children.
kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Just got him across that plank missing. Okay. Well, that one didn't. Okay, so now we're fast forwarding now to our children. The first
Oldest grandchild, David
oldest grandchild
Graham
would have
Griffin.
been Gary's son.
David Graham Griffin.
Mm-hmm. And that's our mama with him. He's been on a podcast. Can't remember what episode, but you can backtrack and find it. Graham Griffin. All right. And there's Gary and son.
Never liked his girlish bangs, but I got outvoted on that.
It's because you didn't have any by then.
Yeah, they were compensating for my early male pattern baldness.
All right.
Is that the couch that Miss
That was-
Haynes broke?
That's the couch in Mom's and Daddy's house, in our old house. We grew up in that house. It went through some changes too.
Yep.
Okay. And this would have been Christmas a couple of years later. There's Graham on the top right, Mama, and in her lap is Gary's daughter, Laura, and sitting in Granddaddy's other side is my daughter, Megan. Sitting in front of Granddaddy is Deb's daughter, Erin. It would have been Graham, Erin, Laura, Megan,
Yep.
as far as
That was all their grandkids at the time.
At the
birth
time.
hierarchy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've had a couple more. At least
Okay.
a couple more.
There's Christmas a few years later.
It was around 1990, wasn't it? I
Yes,
think.
it was exactly 1990. Mm-hmm.
Graham's teenager. Well,
He's getting on up there.
Yeah, 13. He'd be 13.
Born in 76,
77.
77. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Daddy's starting to get a little age on him there a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You'd have been in
Who
90.
took
You'd
that
have been
picture? We have one of them
52.
cameras that
60.
did the pause.
I don't know. Unless
Okay.
it might have been Nikki or Eric.
I love this
I know.
picture. This
The
is
roses.
The granddaughters.
the granddaughters in the backyard.
No, front.
Front yard.
Yeah.
That's right. I see it now.
Left to right. Aaron, Laura, and Megan.
And they were known as the Roses.
A singing group, obviously.
Yes.
I thought it's because they watched the Golden Girls so much.
And they all growed up and have our grandchildren.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. And there's my late bloomer. I was 40 when Connor came along. That's Ingram Connor Griffin, the drummer for the Pine Box Dwellers.
That's when his hair was at the very longest of his life.
No, it was a lot longer than that in his senior pick.
I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm kidding, Connor.
He's still got that
So when he had a
male
mullet.
pattern hairline that we all were gifted with, though, that would come out years later.
You can tell he's the apple of Daddy's eye. Look the way
Daddy loved it. Yeah. They bonded like cement. Okay. This by now is 2005, and it's kind of what I want to get back. No, I'll get back to that later, but was up in Nashville, Tennessee, recording some tracks on our Newfanglers album on Halloween of 2005. We flew up there in a little private, what do you call the plane airplanes? Like a Cessna or something like that. Mike Johnson flew us up there, and that's me and Sean Clark, Pine Box Dweller. The elderly couple right there is Don Helms, the steel guitar player for Hank Williams' Drifting Cowboys, the original.
The one with the red jacket.
Uh-huh. And his wife, Hazel. Mm-hmm. And that's Reed Bennett from Alma, went with us. Yeah, I'll get back to that later. Okay. Now, Gary, this was
That's when I became a rabbi.
what's the
2012.
Morris Jacobson?
No.
The Morris Jacobson Brotherhood Award.
Brotherhood Award. You was
Given by
presented
the
that in 2012.
White Cross Hebrew Congregation.
Mm-hmm.
They give the award to a fine, upstanding citizen, and obviously I had them all fooled because they gave it to me. That's Gus Carl.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
Who shaking my hand there.
Is Carl a Jewish?
No,
No. Okay.
they're Catholic.
Okay.
Mary Woodruff's dad. That's Mary Woodruff's
That's Mary
dad.
Woodruff, daddy. Okay.
And Chris
How about that?
Carl.
Yeah, I
and,
know Chris and everything. I forgot about
Dan,
Mary.
and there were a bunch of
Yeah, there's a bunch of.
brothers, and Mary was the only daughter, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I think.
And Gary was also the managing editor for the Waycross Journal Herald for years and years.
They kept it a secret from me. They told me to go cover the
Yeah.
event.
Mm-hmm.
So I had my camera and a notebook, and
And we snuck in the back.
yeah,
you?
the family snuck in the back.
Yeah.
I never turned
I
around.
know.
I was there
You were
too.
there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah.
Because
But-
we had to wait for him
To-
to.
Mm-hmm.
3 minutes before this, a gentleman from the back walked down to go find a restroom, and I said, "What is Daddy doing here?" And he went down that. Well, I taught myself. I said, "That wasn't Daddy." He looked like Daddy. Looked a lot like Daddy. That wasn't Daddy. I convinced myself that wasn't him.
Well, you look
And,
surprised.
Yeah, I had my Harry Potter glasses on at the time.
Did you have to wear the yarmulke just
Yeah.
to be the photographer?
All men in the synagogue
Did.
were advised to put one on.
Gotcha.
Of course, I'm sure they have those dry cleaned all the time, but they had a box of them.
All right. And well, this was a reunion back in 13, maybe later,
It was about 2018.
18. Yeah. Now, if you'll zoom in a little bit on that, the lady sitting right there where the cursor is in the blue shirt was Daddy's most recent wife, Colleen.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Colleen
Tootin'.
Tootin
Griffin.
Griffin.
We loved Miss Colleen.
But
Mhm.
was her maiden name Tootin?
No.
What was her maiden name?
Hall.
Hall.
Oh,
Oh, okay. And that's our Aunt Marcille, nicknamed Tid,
Kid.
Aunt Tid.
because she was called Tidbit when she was a little. They had a snack cracker or something,
Yeah.
and
cheese.
cheese
tidbit
crackers, and one of the aunts said she's as little as a tidbit, and they started calling her that.
Aunt Tid's 91 now.
It was about that big.
That's
91
Daddy's
or two.
sister.
Daddy's sister.
Daddy and Aunt Tid are the only remaining of their
Siblings.
siblings.
6 of them.
Mm-hmm. And next to me there is our cousin Clark Griffin from Xenia, Ohio. He was Daddy's brother Ed's son, and that's his brother standing in the back with the red T-shirt on and glasses. Eddie.
That's Gracie right by Eddie, my
Yep.
That's
baby
Gary's,
daughter.
Gary's baby daughter, Gracie. Next to him, Deb. And that's Deb's husband right there in the blue shirt. And my wife, Lynn, Aunt Lynn. And next to her is Donald's daughter,
Brandy. Is that her
I
name?
think
Brandy,
that's Brandy.
yeah.
Yeah.
and
Aunt Shelby.
back to the other direction next to Glenn.
Way to the right.
With the teal shirt on, blouse on, is our
Aunt Shelby.
Aunt Shelby, who was married to Daddy's brother, Gene. And next to her is Robert's daughter.
Robert is her other son. But Shelby had sons, Donald and
Dadgummit,
Robert.
she's going to kill me if she ever watches this.
and Denise.
And
daughter.
Denise.
Uh,
And that's
Yep.
Robert's daughter.
Daughter.
oh, yeah, Robert's other daughter
That's his
is in
youngest.
Aunt Tid's arms.
Yeah.
Boy, I tell you, them Griffins do like to procreate. Okay.
I only did it once.
And I'm just out of there. I am.
There he is.
That's at Aunt Tid's house. Now,
Okay, we can skip all of these. Cause we getting into a marathon here. Anyhow, we rented that a couple of years ago and went to Mount Airy, North Carolina, to Mayberry days. Okay, kind of fast forward through these. I'll give a quick synopsis, or y'all jump in there. That's the statue in Mount Airy of Andy and Opie going to the
fishing.
fishing hole.
Yeah.
And there's Daddy and Aunt Tid and Gary posing with Ange and Ope. Okay. There we are at the cabin. We rented a cabin about 30 minutes from Mount Airy up in the mountains.
on
Very
Mount
nice.
Pilot,
It was close to Mount Pilot.
near Pilot Mountain.
Pilot Mountain, which provided the name for the Andy Griffith show.
Yep.
Uh,
There's Barney's sidecar.
There's a generational sidecar. Connor in Barney's seat, and us, Gary and me and Daddy admiring him.
He was the only one that could fit in it.
Mhm. All right. That's me and Connor with Barn. They had lookalikes scattered all over the city for a whole weekend.
Most of them were local citizens.
Mm-hmm. Some of them were quite convincing, but some of them had no business being there.
Yeah.
There was a
They didn't
Gomer.
have a decent Gomer in the
There
whole
was a
town.
Gomer in
Oh.
the diner that we ate in that was just pitiful, and I told him so to his
The
face.
Floyd the barber was excellent, though.
Floyd was great, yeah. All right. There's
Otis
Otis. All right. There's Otis answering the phone.
Yeah, what do you want? He's not here.
All right. That's Don Knott's daughter. She wrote a book, and I bought it. Mm-hmm. That is
Miss Scobie.
her real name was
She's an actress that played Miss Scobie on
actress.
the episode
That-
where the old man wanted to evict the
Mhm.
family for
And
lack
she-
of paying rent.
And another interesting thing about her was back when she was very young, and she posed as a model for Disney, and they designed Tinkerbell after her.
That's right.
Yeah.
That
yeah,
woman
that's true.
right there. I think her name's at the caption of the picture, but I can't remember what it was. Her name was Margaret Carey. Mm-hmm. All right. And there we all are, group shot. Tim Thrift, our cousin Tim Thrift, and his wife Beth lived closer, actually, to Mount Airy than us. And they met us up there for an old-time music heritage hall.
That's them on the far right in the back.
We saw
The Isaacs.
the Isaacs
Gospel music.
gospel bluegrass band in concert there that night. That was a fun trip. Okay. Now, when the paper closed down,
And after I got tired of being a rabbi, I turned into a Protestant preacher. And there's one of my 2 churches.
3. I thought you were doing 3.
I had 3. Now I've got 2.
You back down to 2.
Yeah, I'm getting old. I had to cut back a little bit, ease up on the accelerator. But
So,
we're no longer Methodist. We're just Pearson Church now.
is that right?
Yep.
Okay.
And 4 miles toward Willacoochee, there's a little town called Kirkland. And I'm a preacher at Kirkland Church.
So he pastors 2 churches in a little town west of us, about
30 miles.
30 miles. Pearson, Georgia. And
I
every
perfected
Sunday.
the 1-day work week. I only work on Sundays.
Mm-hmm. So anytime you're down this way or over in Pearson on a Sunday, stop in at the Pearson Church. He puts on some good sermons.
Please do.
Yeah.
Need to be baptized. We got a little sprinkler thing. If you want a submersion, we'll have to go to a big body of water somewhere.
That'd be the Withlacoochee River.
Or the 17-mile river. Or or Perch Creek.
Perch Creek. All right. And that at your this is another award.
Yeah.
Okay. This is the
Why don't you show some of y'all's
sports.
awards? I'm getting embarrassed.
I ain't got nothing to show. I went through all my pictures and did my best to show the highlights.
Well,
and it's already turned into a y'all want to come over and see our home movies and look at our picture albums? That's always fun. This was this the sports
Sports Hall of Fame gave
Hall
me
of Fame.
the, what's it called? The F.J. Beverly Brotherhood, F.J. Beverly Beacon of Light Award.
because you didn't play anything.
Didn't play anything. I played the field for years.
He wrote the game tab.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right. I got you. I was not an athlete very much, but the local Sports Hall of Fame gives it's kind of like a Lifetime Achievement Award
Mm-hmm.
named after Steve
Well-
Beverly's daddy, F.J. Beverly. Everybody remembered him.
But also your time at the newspaper, you pretty much nominated people to go in the Hall of Fame or had
Oh, yeah.
something to do with it.
This was my first year after leaving the board.
Uh-huh.
I was
So
on
you
the
were
board. I was the only
that
board
nominated
member
all the
from 1985
athletes.
through 2020. Then COVID came,
Mm-hmm.
and I left the board finally after 35 years or something. And
Well-
there's my loving family that
And
came.
that's the youngest
The baby.
grandchild.
Yeah, the baby is my grandchild, Maylee, daughter of Laura and Ian. Ian's holding her. And that was a big night. Happy night.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the last one, Justin.
Oh.
No. This is
Daddy's 95th.
Daddy's 95th birthday, around September the 14th of last year. We bought him a sporty cowboy jacket with embroidery and everything. It was it
Real
might have been
pretty.
kind of suede,
Yeah.
brown suede, and we also got him a cowboy hat.
Yeah.
That was at Captain Joe's.
Mm-hmm. All right. That's it. Now, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, Daddy's going to sing for us, and we'll have a tale of the week, and appreciate y'all watching.
Something in my brain won't let me stray. Something in my veins gonna find its way. Something in the water taught me how to pray. When the cold black water finds its way into your veins, you'll never be the same.
Hey, we're back. Something in the water. This is the Griffin special. And every special has to have a little music segment. So
Right.
this is called Snook and Son. Snook and Son is the name of this act. We're going to do a Hank Williams song.
Comb your hair and paint and powder. You act proud and I like prouder. You sing loud and I'll sing louder, setting the words on fire.
We're taking all the honky tonks. Tonight we're having fun. We'll show the folks a brand new dance, never has been done.
I don't care who thinks we're silly. You a daffy and I'll be dilly. We'll order up 2 bowls of chili, setting the woods on fire.
Hey, just a little snippet there of that old classic Hank Williams song.
Yeah. The man, Hiram Williams. Hank Williams. Hiram. It's Hiram, but his family pronounced it Harm.
Harm?
Harm.
Well,
But the great Hank Williams,
yes, he was.
first great musical influence in our lives.
Big musical influence on our lives.
Because he handed it down to us, is what happened.
He did. And, well,
He also went to see Elvis Presley when nobody hardly knew who Elvis was.
that was when you were stationed in Jacksonville. And
They did the show on the outside stadium, the big outside stadium.
in about, I guess it was right about his start, 56, 57. It was when you were driving that blue station wagon back into the Waycross.
Yeah.
See, we grew up with 45s and albums of early Elvis, like King Creole was one. Certainly, me and you didn't buy it.
You know,
and they didn't buy it for us. They bought it for themselves.
That's right.
Yeah.
When I was 5, 6, I would go to Carter's Farm west of Hoboken, and actually the album of that time was 78 RPM.
Mm-hmm.
And Guida or Royce or somebody had bought Teddy Bear by Elvis, and I'll Be Cruel or something was on the
Don't
other
Be
side.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. The way I sang was, I'll be
I'll
cruel
be your
to
teddy
you.
bear. Don't be cruel.
Something like that. Don't be cruel. Thank you for the correction. But yeah, it was 78 RPM, pre-45.
Yeah.
But pretty soon it got to be 45
Got down to that
RPMs,
little-
which were about 10 inches across, I guess. And the long play albums, 33 and a third RPMs.
Well, it's time for the tale of the week. And this one's a good one, folks. Dollar Tree, $1.
I won't cry, will I?
You might. From the time I was old enough to say the word Hank, there we are. I was hearing the haunting sounds of the king of country on my daddy's record player. He had a varied collection from Vic Damone, Guy Lombardo, and Patti Page, but it was his country music records that resonate in my mind and heart all these years later. Johnny Cash's 5 Feet High and Rising, Tupelo County Jail by Webb Pierce, Johnny Horton's Squalls Along the Yukon, all of Hank Williams' full-length albums, and Ernest Tubb and Red Foley's cartoon-covered LP, Red and Ernie, where I first heard Goodnight Irene, the beautiful Huddy Leadbelly Ledbetter lament. Now, before we go any further, I'll show you. These are the actual, Gary, let's see. Yeah, I'll give them to you to hold up to that camera right there so he can zero in on them. Tilt them forward so the light don't, yeah. These are the albums that me and Gary and Deb had at our disposal at a very young age, all of us. Moaning the Blues, that top one.
I thought that was his greatest. Oh, yeah, Moaning the Blues.
And the next one, I used to sit there and fantasize about these pictures and all. Honky Tonkin'. That old
Pan
hound
American
dog.
on the way to New Orleans on that one, I think.
Yeah.
That's
And
the
then
greatest hits.
the final was kind of like a memorial album. This was probably put out after he passed away, January 1st of 1953.
He was only 29, 31?
29. Yeah. He died the first day of the year that I was born. Well, that album that you're looking at on the screen there now, Red Foley and Ernest Tubb, that album reminds me of the late 80s when my daddy, along with his buddies, Roe Lee, Charles Matthews, and Elmer Shedd, called themselves the Real Good Friends, known as Neb, Nugene, Newt, and Nub.
Nub played the piano.
They all,
Get it? Nub.
I think they were hillbilly brothers whose mom and daddy didn't get past the letter N in the alphabet and used to dress up in fine hee-haw fashion, strap on guitars, and mime the lyrics from Red and Ernie, to the delight of audiences young and old at church functions and civic club meetings around Waycross. But the most hallowed record that really got me in the cojones at such an early age was Marty Robbins' El Paso, a lovely, lilting cowboy song with Spanish guitar and beautiful harmonies. I would lie for hours in front of the Telefunken stereo cabinet,
There it is.
listening over and over to the cinematic lyrics and the exquisite vocals of Robbins and the Glazer brothers. To say I couldn't get enough was just putting it mildly. Back in the day, Holiday Beach Lake outside Douglas, Georgia started hosting concerts by country music greats. Conway Twitty, Loretta Lynn, Alabama, Charlie Pride, and Tammy Wynette, who split her skin-tight blue breeches midway through her set only to come back out victorious in an identical pair colored red. Lynn saw that one. I surprised Daddy on his birthday with tickets to see Marty Robbins at Holiday Beach in the early 80s. The concert meant as much to me as it did to him. I've scoured back through my family's ancestry to try and find an old uncle or great-granddaddy who played music, but always came up short. I do recall seeing a beautiful blonde acoustic guitar sitting high atop a shift robe in Grandma and Granddaddy Carter's farmhouse bedroom, and on rare occasion, Daddy would cradle it and pick out the notes of You Are My Sunshine. I'm convinced what inspired me to learn to play the guitar and join a band was the Beatles and an easy-to-say but difficult-to-spell 10-letter word from Germany, Telefunken, on which I listened to the records belonging to my father. Right out of high school, I attempted to pull one over on Daddy and played a gig at the Waycross VFW with Billy Ray Heron and Jake Lee. The Saturday night gig went off without a hitch. We played to nobody. But by Sunday afternoon, Deb blew the whistle on me because I spent the night with Jake Saturday night after the gig, and me and Jake and his daddy went to lunch at Gateway Restaurant, which was right down the road from their house. And it was a very popular spot for after church. And we were sitting up against the left-hand wall.
You were supposed to be in Statesboro.
I was supposed to be in Statesboro. I
college.
told a big fib and said, I'm staying at my dorm in Statesboro all weekend. But I didn't. And I'm sitting with my back to the front door over here. Jake's right there with an eye straight on the front door, and he says, David, them people that friends of your mom and daddy just walked in. It was the
Gerald
insurance
Sadler.
guy.
Gerald Sadler.
Sadler. And Joyce. And I went, my back hunched up a little bit, and he said, David, your sister just walked in. And I went, he said, David, your mom and daddy just walked in. And I went, oh, God. Well, right over here to my right was a lunch counter with stools that spin. Well, Deb hops right on the stool right there, behind me, right there. And she goes, around and around, and finally she grabs hold of the counter on one of those spins, and she leans over and looks right. She leans over right here over my right shoulder and looks at me and says, Mama, there's Dave. and then they were sitting right over there, and I turned around and oh, anyhow. But
You were 8. You were 8 years old.
Yeah, it was 71.
I was 11.
Sorry.
Yeah. No time to be spinning on stools.
Fixing to say it.
Well, Daddy had it all figured out by the time I rode home with them. And I remember we was standing by the backyard clothesline, and Daddy said, I won't have a son of mine playing in a juke joint. And 5 years later, I was playing in the Grand Juke Joint. It wasn't a juke joint. It was Valdosta, the king of the road. And my family came to see me playing down home with Eddie Middleton at Valdosta's premier nightclub. Mom and Daddy and my little sister Deb sat on the upper dining level listening to our dinner set filled with songs by the Eagles, Poco, America, and Loggins and Messina. Our lead singer, Eddie Middleton, came out next, offering up the vocal stylings of Tom Jones, Freddie Fender, and Brooke Benton. We dedicated a song to Daddy that evening by the Atlanta Rhythm Section called Jukin', which had a medley in it with San Antonio Rose, during which Joe Shear and I played twin harmony guitar leads made famous by Bob Wills and his Texas Playboys.
Yeah.
After I became a father to a son in 1993, Daddy would bounce little Connor on his knee and sing to him 2 songs, Shoe Fly Don't Bother Me, an old 1860s folk song, and The Animal Fair, which no doubt you had probably heard in 1948 on a Tex Ritter 78 RPM record album.
Mm-hmm.
Songs for Children. And it went, well, you remember it, don't you? Oh, went to the animal fair.
The birds and the beasts were there.
Birds and the beasts. I
Really?
always thought it was the bees.
The old baboon by the light of the
Old
moon.
baboon
By the light of the moon was combing his auburn hair. The monkey, he got drunk, and he sat on the elephant's trunk. The elephant sneezed and fell on his knees, and that was the end of the monk.
Poor monk.
Connor would laugh. And he loved it. To be a daddy is a wonderful thing. To have a daddy who instilled the music of his heroes in you, who raised you to know the difference between right and wrong, kept you out of juke joints as long as he could, who was there for you in difficult times, who you can still pick up the phone and call, is a blessing beyond blessings.
Amen.
And it's been a blessing among blessings to have my...
Who was it? Dad, one of Ted's grandsons.
Peyton's son that
I
loved shoot
I
fly.
would sing him one of them songs. Which one would I
Shoot
sing?
fly don't bother
Fly.
me.
Shoot fly, yeah. And he would just holler and laugh when it was over.
Is he the one that ended up flying an airliner?
His daddy.
Peyton. He flies
boy's
for
daddy.
Delta, and he's a lieutenant colonel in the Air Force Reserve.
Is that the one you sang the song to?
Not me, him.
Peyton's son.
It was
Peyton's son.
Peyton's son. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's a graduate of the Air Force Academy too.
Peyton's son is?
No,
No,
Peyton.
Peyton. Okay.
We're swinging back and forth from one generation to another.
Well, I was fixing to say shoe fly inspired him to fly.
Yeah.
But it's his son. Getting back to these Hank Williams albums, that picture that we showed earlier of us in Nashville with Don Helms, the steel guitar player for Hank Williams' Drifting Cowboys, autographed. I carried these records up there because I knew we were going up there specifically to have him play on our album.
He signed
And
them.
he signed all three. And
Rest in peace. Is he gone?
he's
now?
gone too.
They're all gone, aren't they? The
Yeah.
Drifting Cowboys.
Yeah.
They
We
were-
got this. This is where the life of Hank Williams and people that he knew
Influenced.
in the business and all. They were telling stories of what happened with them and Hank.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lefty Frizzell, I think, told Hank, kept bugging him, said, Hank, you ought to join the Grand Ole Opry. It'll do you good. And
That didn't work out too good, did it?
no,
He finally made it,
no,
I
no.
mean, he finally made it, but they also they also kicked him
I
off.
think it was Lefty Frizzell, and Hank told him, said, well, damn,
I have to be on
my
time.
mother said, I've got, what they say, 6 hits on the top 10 right now. I don't need Nashville.
Good.
he really was the Beatles of his
He
day. He
was-
had 6 out of the top 10 at the same time.
I was going at the same time.
He was one of the first superstars there was.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it
They
was
said, too,
Hank Mania. Everybody
that
couldn't get enough.
he had, Hank Williams had what most of the people don't have getting in the business.
Mm-hmm.
He was the business. He didn't have to get in it and break into it.
Mm-hmm.
He messed himself up by drinking and breaking himself up with the business.
Yeah. Well, he also had a bad back.
He had a
Right.
bad back, yeah.
That
and
medicine,
chronic pain. and-
yeah, and he started taking the pills, and
Yeah.
that ended up not helping either.
Yeah.
But
But,
he was what everybody in the later generations would point back to and say, that's the beginning of rock and roll right there.
Yeah.
And songwriter,
He
if
had it
you're
all.
from the songwriting standpoint, he's one of the most talented and gifting that ever lived right there.
He was a cult of personality.
Mm-hmm.
And Elvis didn't write songs. Hank did. Everybody says Elvis had it all. He had it
No,
all.
he didn't.
No,
He
he
couldn't
didn't.
write a song.
But
Yeah, but Hank,
Well, I
Hank
wanted
had
to
it
get
all.
this on real quick. If you would, I'll take those. Now pick up that picture to your right there.
there's a picture down here.
Yeah, that frame right there.
There
It's
you
heavy.
go. Just lift it straight up, point it at that camera right there. These are all Daddy's Air Force medals and insignias. And this is his
Uniform.
old dress blues.
the blouse,
blouse,
that's all I
dress
got
blues.
left of it. Maud's got some of it.
Tech Sergeant, E7.
And you can't find that uniform anywhere. I have looked, and Dave and Deb and all have looked, but the uniform when I retired in 1967 was the uniform from 1947.
It's made out of a specific
That right
material,
there. That's
specific color.
That's the summer dress blues, they called them.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the winter dress blues, the same color, but a little heavy with wool.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like a military with pocket flaps and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Where the uniform they got now is a darker, like a businessman blue suede suit. It don't have the flaps up here, two pockets. It's got like a business suit again with slit.
Mm-hmm.
And the pockets down here don't have that. They just have the pockets there. And
Well, it's that old saying, everything changes, and it don't always change for the
I
better.
don't like
and-
there you one a bit. I can't or don't supposed to wear it because that's the uniform. It was the uniform when I retired.
Well, speaking of retirement, we fixing to retire this episode, and we appreciate y'all watching. It's been a very special episode for me to have my little sister and my big brother and my daddy.
Me too,
We're
Dave.
still
Special.
kicking, not as high as we used to, but we're still kicking. And
Amen.
we got
Very
plenty
blessed.
more things to do. We're going to have another reunion here on May 6th in about 2 weeks. So y'all come if you can. And,
At Aunt Shelby's.
yeah.
That's
Yeah,
not too
today's April 15th.
late.
You forget, see?
You're living
Yep.
in the future.
You're living in...
It's what month?
Never, it's May the
It's-
6th when we're gonna go to Aunt Shelby's. May the 6th.
the mystery.
Where was that picture taken?
At Robert's trailer out
Yeah. Okay.
And
Cockdale.
we appreciate y'all watching. We remind you to go on over to
Anywhere,
patreon.com and check out our podcast, The Deep End, Something in the Water. It's only $5 a month, and to subscribe to, and you can catch all kinds of further episodes there.
Are we gonna do PG rating for the deep end now?
This one's probably going to have to be cut in half to get some to go on the deep end. We don't know yet, but
How long we been here?
it's been on probably almost two hours and 15 minutes, probably a little less, with the editing.
My.
But y'all don't want to hear about all that stuff. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, share. By all means, share. We can't get these things seen on Facebook for some reason the algorithms is out of rhythm. And but we do thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye. Pray for me.
When the cold black water finds its way across through your veins, it just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate. It just might seal your fate.